So, okay, that's the Lexington Public Health Hospital where they used to send addicts in 1935. That's Frank. Go ahead. That's Frank and Doris Carnahan's house. That's where the planning of NA with Traditions with Jimmy K was, in that house on Stagg Street in Los Angeles. That's that doctor, the first person we know of that got clean on the 12 steps in 1939 in that hospital, Dr. Tom. That's that first meeting. The sign-in sheet, the October 5th, 1953, and there's nobody there is alive anymore. That's for sure. And that's where it was. You can still go see this building. It's still there. It's in a Latino church now, and so I've been in there many times. It's really cool to go there. It doesn't look quite like that anymore, but you can go there. You can go over to the Jimmy K's house, the World Service Office. All that's really close. So you can see all in one day if you ever get out to Los Angeles area. This is really important for UK because this is the letter from Jimmy K to Johnny Horton. They was called Crowbar Johnny. I don't know if you ever heard him, but he was. Hang on a second. He was considered the first NA member in UK, and that's a letter from Jimmy K about a starter kit to get NA going in UK, and so that's a really great document there. Okay, next. Oh, and that's we do recover in Jimmy's handwriting. You know, like I say, he was an avid writer and very articulate. You know, you can see he's always like correcting things, and you know, he's always thinking about how to make this better. Next. And that's the original, what they call preamble, or we call format now. You might have seen this. You know, the first meeting was Monday night, 8:30 p.m. By the way, that first meeting collected about $11, which would be about $90 in today's money. You know, we're always looking for support from the groups, you know, and we often don't get it, but it's amazing that they collected that much money in that first meeting back then with so few members. So that's pretty impressive. Next. Oh, there, and Bo knows this. This is Steve Bice and a few other people there. That's the motion that approved the basic text in Miami. I think it was May of, I believe it was 82. And it's, I can't read it quite right now. Let's see. Something along the line, motion, let's see, basic text approval form to approve his first Narcotics Anonymous book. Um, so that was that. It was on chalkboard. In those days, there was no computer, but that was the actual motion that was unanimously approved at the literature conference. This is the first World Convention. Let's see. That's Russ, Ed, Jack Whaley. Let's see here. There's Bob. There's Mel. There's Bill Beck. There's Russ Counts. That was in November of '71 at the La Mirada Country Club. Um, Mel H and Norm, who's here today, were very involved in that first World Convention. And there's George, and I forget the other guy's name. Bo knows this picture. This is how the basic text was put together. There was no email. I mean, it's amazing. You know, it's what it ran. I mean, the initial, you know, '79 when the idea started gelling, and then, of course, approved in '82 and published in '83. So amazing, amazing. The first full length book ever written by and for addicts in the history of mankind, the basic text. Next. That's the original group symbol. And all these colors mean things, you know, strength and courage, friendship, unity, love. The little dot in the A that Jimmy made, he said that that was the eye of God, the little dot in the A. And so that's one of our official things there. That's the group symbol. Next. Oh, okay. So this was in the Amazon in Brazil, and we were doing a little public relations with the narco policia in Brazil, and I was giving them pamphlets there in the Amazon in Brazil, where there's meetings. And that was the official designation of NA in Afghanistan to be recognized as a viable program of recovery. Because there's countries where NA is still illegal. There's countries where women can't go to meetings still. So this allowed, NA to have meetings and be recognized in Afghanistan by the government. This was in Bhutan, and actually, I sponsored the two guys on the right there. That's Yeshe and Quinzen, and there's NA there too. But the government won't let them have conventions or anything. This is old. Actually, there's a lot more meetings than that. It's about, well, there was 77,000 face-to-face meetings. I don't know what it is now because I'm sure some of them probably aren't going to happen after we get through this darn pandemic. Next. And yeah, that's we have meetings in at least 89 languages. That was in Zanzibar, East Africa. There's a lot of stories I could tell you about that trip because when we went there, they had never, met clean addicts or seen a key tag or anything. And that was probably 8 or 9 years ago, but that was really, really amazing to go there and help them. Next. Oh, this was in the Amazon. That's an indigenous member, the guy on the right. And this is Alton, and he's one of the members that went down the Amazon and stopped in villages and started meetings uh, throughout that region of NA. NA Brazil is the third largest NA in the world. They're really, really, it's really, really big, and they're very, very active and very strong in service and everything they do down there. Next. This was at the East LA Convention in 2010. This is the last time that we had pretty much all the early members, like from the 60s and a few 70s together in one photo. There's a few people not there, like Sylvia Magdaleno, but those are all clean dates, 63, 61, 62, stuff like that. And quite a few of those people have passed away, unfortunately. Matter of fact, the whole first row has passed away, except for our beloved Norm, who's here today on the far left with the cool shades on there, the gradient shades. That's Johnny Horton, who pretty much is considered to be the key significant earliest NA member in UK. Oh, this is a really important picture. So this was the five oldest members of NA, and this was at Sylvia's 50-year party. Now, Bob on the left died with 53, and there's Gene. He died with 53. Sylvia died with 52. Steve died with 53, and Ed back there with 54. And this was a Sylvia's 50-year party. Now, here's something amazing. So, this 50-year coin actually belonged to all five of them because Bob got it, and then he gave it to Gene. Gene gave it to Sylvia. Sylvia gave it to Steve. Steve gave it to Ed, and Ed's widow gave it to me. They've all passed away. So this was that 50-year coin that is probably my most precious possession. That's a L. That's a 50 for Roman numeral, and so that's probably one of my favorite pictures. The guy in the back is actually me. Uh, that's me. So that was great. And there's Sally. Sally was also a very good friend. By the way, I mean, it's amazing. I become friends with all these, people, and I've seen them all pass away, in their 80s with 50 years clean, 52 years clean. It's been sad, but they gave me so much, and I was so fortunate to get to know them. Sally was also very significant in the development of the basic text. She got clean in 1969. She's passed away. She was one of our early females, and I've got many stories about her. She was just fantastic. Oh, that's Penny. That's Penny Kennedy, the nurse. She was one of our early members. She wrote "I Can't Do Any More Time," meaning not clean time, but prison time. I can't do any more time. I need NA. And she was very, very helpful to Jimmy K in the early days too. That was in the meeting place that that story. I found the only NA meeting in the world that Bob wrote. That was about a meeting at Rhodes and Moore Park Street in Studio City, California. And that was the first really stable meeting that started in 59 and at the Unitarian Church. And that was in the back room of that meeting place. I've been in that building too. There's Ed. He was our first public relations chairperson in '69. Real cantankerous guy. Spent some time in Alcatraz and all kind of stuff. He was amazing. That's James. He has about, let's see, he's 67. So yeah, he's like 53 years clean now too, and that's where NA Canada started. There was an NA in Australia in the 50s that died out, but then the next NA outside of America was Canada in '67 because of James, and it started in that actual room in that house. And the amazing thing is that NA Canada started by James when he was about 3 or 4 months clean, and it never stopped. So NA Canada is our oldest nonstop NA outside of America that exists today. Next. Oh, that's part of my display. It's 22 kilos. I've lugged it all over the world, and that's just part of it. It's pretty big. This is a neat picture. There's Gene and Norm and Ed, and on the far right is Roy. Now Roy is yeah, he's 51 years clean now, but as far as we know, he's the first Asian member we ever had. He was American Asian living in Los Angeles and Japanese, and he's been around a long time. He's still alive. Next. This is a great picture. This was there's Ed, who died with 53, and there's Richard Magdaleno, who's still alive, and I think he's about 54 years clean now. And then Steve died at 53, and Gene died at 53. Um, Richard Magdaleno had Sylvia was his older sister. She was the first NA member, and then he had three brothers. So there was five siblings that all ended up in NA, and so that's pretty amazing. Now they've all passed except for Richard, if I remember correctly. So he's down in the San Francisco area. Next. Oh, okay. Now the guy in the blue shirt, the tall guy, that's Jim Nichols. Jim passed away too, and he was the one that got members together to raise money for postage, just to send out the draft of the basic text, and they raised money by donating blood, and that was his idea by doing that. And Jim was out there in Kansas and Nebraska, and there's a very old NA in Kansas and Nebraska because of him. So and then Ed is on the far left, and then Gene, Norm, and me. That was down in New Orleans, Missis, down there in Louisiana. We did a history thing there one time. Next. Oh, this is at Kathy's house, Jimmy K's daughter, Kathy, who's about 11 or 12 years clean now. She looks a lot like her father, and that's Jean. And that was in her house there. She lives pretty close to me here, and so that's a great picture because Jean knew her when they were little kids, when she was a little kid. There's Jean and Ed. That's a great picture. They've known each other since they were newcomers. They've known each other since they're in their 20s. They both died in their 80s with well over 50 years clean each. Next. Oh, that's at Gene's grave. I'm putting the eternity coin there. Yeah, that's sad to see that. We are not giving up. We are sitting here for the ones coming after us. We are sitting here for the addicts not born yet. We must keep these doors open. Jimmy Kay, born April 5th, 1911, Paisley, Scotland, got clean February 2nd, 1950, and died July 9th, 1985. That's me in front of his where he was born in the apartment building over on West Street in Paisley. That's a nice collage of Jimmy and the group symbol. And that's Agnes. That was his first wife. Many people know Betty, his second wife, who was the recovering NA member who wrote the Fearful Mother story in the basic text. But Agnes was who he met in Philadelphia when he immigrated from Scotland. and married, and they had the 5 kids. She was not an addict, but she's very important because she really kept the family and the kids and even Jimmy together when he was using. And then when he started doing NA and he was gone all the time. So that's really important picture to know who Agnes was.